This episode is brought to you by the Marine Corps Association and Foundation. The Marine Corps Association is committed to our mission of providing resources for professional military education and esprit de corps. If you like what we're doing, consider donating. There are multiple ways to give, such as our year-end giving. Join our year-end matching gift challenge by donating to the Marine Corps Association by December 31st. Your tax-deductible donation will be tripled, going 3 times as far to fund professional development programs for Marines. Every gift strengthens our Corps. Give today at mca-marines.org/donate-to-MCAF and help shape tomorrow's Marine leaders. Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners, this is episode 174. This week, we continue our Road to 250 segment, celebrating the Marine Corps' 250th birthday in 2025. Over the next year, we'll feature stories and history from throughout the 250 years of the Marine Corps. These episodes will be nested within the MCA's overall Road to 250 campaign, where you will find featured articles in both the Gazette and Leatherneck magazines highlighting events and battles within the specific periods in Marine Corps history. The MCA also has a commemorative Road to 250 coin collection. These commemorative challenge coins can only be found through the MCA. Go to marineshop.net to order individual coins or email customer service at mca-marines.org to pre-order the entire set or learn more. This month, we walk the road to 250 with the post-Revolutionary War Marines. Dr. Mike Miller is a historian who retired from History Division in 2016 after 34 years exploring Marine Corps history. We talk Derna and all the details behind the legacy of Marines in the Barbary Wars and this iconic battle. It was fascinating going beyond the mythology and learning why it is we sing "To the Shores of Tripoli" in the Marine hymn. Here is episode 174. Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners, thank you for joining us and thank you for your continued support. I, to your chagrin, am still Vic. I'm here with Nancy.
Hey, Vic. Hey, everyone.
And we're really excited to be welcoming Dr. Mike Miller to the show. Sir, thank you for being here.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is great. So for our listeners who have been tuning in, this is part of our Road to 250 series. Last month, we explored the Continental Marines with Major General Jason Baum, which was so great to kind of learn about the Marine Corps outside of just the New Providence amphibious raid. And so today we're diving into the Barbary War periods. And so this is, we're looking at the Marine Corps history after the Revolutionary War as the United States are trying to figure out our place in the global community. There really wasn't much at that time. We're still looking at Western Europe being the primary, I guess the dominant influences through the transition space. But now we're having international commerce. And people are stealing from us, and folks don't like it so well. So before we dive totally into the Marine Corps history, Dr. Miller, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? 34 years
Yes.
In the Marine Corps
If you're
space.
If you're counting.
Yeah, if we're counting. So yeah, please tell where you're from, and then how did you come to be the expert du jour?
I feel like everybody has to have a dinosaur as a pet, but I'm sort of like the Marine Corps dinosaur.
Nice.
Where look around and all the people I started with aren't
Yeah,
here
well,
anymore.
every time I bend over to pick something up, I think I'm headed that way too. So,
But I grew up in Fairfax, Virginia, so not far away from the Marine Corps base, and I can remember coming down here for Armed Forces days and such. Because all the way from as a child, I wanted to be a Marine. That was my thing. And so, as I grew older, there was a chance to go to the Naval Academy and become a Marine officer. And so I had the nomination, but I decided, no, I think I'm going to do the civilian way. and see what happens.
Keep your hair.
And there's also a girlfriend involved in this.
Of
so-
course
Always
there
a
is.
girlfriend
Yeah,
involved
I
in
love
these
it.
decisions.
Love
yeah.
these paths that start
Yeah.
with girlfriends.
Yeah. But
Mm-mm-mm.
God,
boyfriends.
God said, you're not going to get away that easy. And so I went through undergraduate school and graduated from the University of Alabama, and then went on to graduate school at Virginia Tech under Dr. Roberts in Civil War
Nice.
history. And then entered the flow of work stream. And so there was an opportunity at the Marine Corps Historical Center, then in the Washington Navy Yard under General Simmons. So I applied. I said, this would be the perfect job. So there were like 102 candidates, and so I was picked. I was number 2 of those. Number 1 got the job. So I said, sorry, thanks. It was great. Okay, and so I said, well, okay, we'll try something else. But 2 days later, I got a call, and they said, no, the first person didn't take it. It's yours. And so that launched my career. And so God said, you're going to the Marine Corps no matter how much you might try to wiggle around. And I think everybody's got a story like that. But that's how it got me into the Historical Center.
That's great. And so your graduate studies, did you focus on this time period in particular, or what was your sort of your specialty?
It was basically Civil War at that time.
Okay.
I was really heavily into the Civil War, so Civil War Marines, the battles of Gettysburg and so forth. So one of my jobs later on, you can't make this up, but I was leading Civil War battle studies and taking the Marine officers, enlisted men out to Gettysburg and
Oh, how
the
cool.
wilderness.
That must have been a dream come true for you.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That was the reward for coming back to the Marine Corps from God. So
Yeah.
he said, okay, General Van Riper, at the time he was head here, decided that he said, Mike, I want you to take a year, and I want you to design a staff ride package for all of the senior officers on base, and then we're going to go out once a month, and we're going to do these battlefields. And so here I am right back into it. So so we went all the way to Vicksburg. We went to the Outer Banks for the Burnside expedition. We
Wow.
everywhere. It was amazing opportunity that and he had such foresight to see what the effect of that.
And what a great opportunity for them to learn on the spot from an expert.
And what a great opportunity for a shameless plug. We have a YouTube video on our YouTube
Oh my
channel
God, you are
on the
awesome, Vic.
Battle of Manassas. And we talk about the Marine Corps' involvement there at the Battle of Manassas, or if you're north of the Mason-Dixon line, the Battle of Bull Run. So yeah, check it out on our YouTube channel. Go ahead, please.
So, but my regular job up there in the Navy Yard in the beginning was very important because that was 1983, and so General Simmons was in charge, and it was a fascinating time because I was at the end of the Marines from World War I, and that was the immediate thing I did was start interviewing them and getting their material in. But I also was in a prime spot for the Marines of World War II and the Banana Wars as well, and on and on and on. So it just fit perfectly for me. And so I was head of the personal papers collection, but I also did all kinds of other things that we all do. And a lot of it was oral histories. And I did over 250, I think.
Oh, wow.
Histories.
Any standouts for you? In
Oh,
those?
it's
That's
yeah,
a
of
whole other
course.
podcast,
yeah,
right?
that's another podcast. If you want to, yeah, I've got plenty of stories.
We'll book that one later.
Yeah.
Yeah, but fascinating. I mean, especially the World War I guys.
Yeah, you have a book, right? You're one of the books that you've written was about Bellawood. Is that correct?
Yeah. Bellawood and Soissons. Bellawood, everybody knows about. Soissons, they don't.
Right.
But Soissons had more casualties in 2 days than Bellawood did in a month.
Wow. Well, we'll see you again
Yeah,
when that
couple
time
months.
period
Yeah.
Make a
comes
note
back
of that.
around.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to do it. I mean, happy to do it.
Perfect. That's
So,
great. Yeah, write that down. Book, Mike.
I got it.
Miller. Yeah. So, you're speaking of books. You're currently writing a book, right? And
Yeah.
it deals with this. So, another shameless plug. God, we're just
Yeah,
shameless
this
plugging
is the
like crazy.
greatest episode
Yeah,
we've ever
yeah.
done.
It's the
Synergy.
self licking ice cream cone is delicious right now. So, you submitted an article that is now being published in Leatherneck Magazine.
Right.
Yes.
That deals with this, and it's is it literally an excerpt from your book, or is it just sort of tailored to the magazine, but content like
Well, it's both,
okay,
both, because I retired, 2006, 15, 16, whatever it was, early because I wanted just to write what I'd learned and
hmm
all the people that I talked to and all that, to put it down for Marines to use forever. Now, of course, they're done from that era, but I go all the way back to World War One, and some of them from the Boxer Rebellion.
wow,
Yeah. So, like I said, everybody likes a dinosaur. Them the Marine dinosaur. I go back that bridge,
yeah, yeah,
and particularly the people that taught me, General Simmons and Ben Frank and Dick Long, all these names, Bud Shaw, that you see on the backs of the Red Book series,
Right.
and so.
Yeah.
But I was working side by side with them, and it was what an experience.
that's great.
So
So as we dive into these shores of Tripoli, one of the things we were talking before we started recording was these time periods are so iconic, yet as a retired Marine, um, you're so focused on the teep, and for us, the 20 years of counterterrorism fighting, you never really had a time. You appreciated the legacy, you were enamored by the mythology, but just didn't have the time to dive into it because I've got to learn Arabic. I've got to learn, I've got to read the Arab mind. I've got to figure out like what is, Al Qaeda in Iraq really all about? Like, who are my guys? Like, who are Smith and Jones and Johnson and, Ramirez and these folks. So by the time I have an opportunity for self study, the shores of Tripoli unfortunately are going to be relegated to singing that once a year at the birthday and holding up my Mamluk sword and going, oh hey, this happened. But tell us what was so when I introed sort of this time period, was I off? Is that kind of where we're at geopolitically at this time post Revolutionary War?
uh, yeah, I think so. America's got to she's got to fight for her place in the world, and certainly the other Britain and France are not going to help us.
Right.
And in fact, we're gonna get into it with them again. But
hmm
the point is that this nation is finding its wings. It's an eagle finding the wings to fly.
Getting the wind in their sails.
Winds
as
in
it
their
were. Yeah.
sails, and it's not going to be
I am
easy.
on it.
Vic is really on today. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on.
Coffee.
But yeah, but that's a very important because who's going to be in the forefront of that?
Yeah.
It's going to be in the Marine Corps. It starts very early in the nation's history, and so that's what fascinated me about this. So yeah, this article, as Nancy can tell you, was like twice the size, maybe.
It was about a 10,000 word article, and
Yeah.
we did some whittling down. But it was painful to do it because it was such good stuff.
Yeah.
And shameless plug, December issue of Leatherneck, To the Shores of Tripoli by Mike Miller. Read it. If you haven't read it yet, go read it now.
Yeah. Well, I hope so because but there'll be a larger book about this.
Yeah.
And so that's what I retired early for was, well, not so early, but retired early to do some of these. So I've got manuscripts on this and Nicaragua in 1912. I've got all kinds of Marine Corps projects
Yeah.
that are coming to fruition. So
That's awesome.
instead of writing one book, I've got about 4 books.
It's the way it happens. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. My thumb drive is full of unfinished manuscripts.
Mhm.
So where the Marine Corps now, so we see, in talking to Major General Baum about the Continental Marines, one of the things that was hard for, 'cause we know that Washington wasn't a huge fan of Marines. But when literally the Continental Army had its back against the wall, the only folks the only folks on the rolls who had not only combat experience but successful combat experience were the Marines. So I need those guys. We have plenty of people who know how to lose right now. I need people to know how to win. And but then we're now moving into, we've got the turn of the century. We're into the early 1800s. Those dudes are way too long in the tooth to be, really a viable force. So we have a fairly green force again. But yet we have these, pirates that are just really running havoc on international trade, to the point where, and for fans of Black Sails, you know that like there was an actual decree internationally that if you kill a pirate, you're good to go. So what is the Marine Corps looking at as American ships are now starting to be pillaged and plundered?
Well, there's a couple things there that need to be.
Please.
The fight for the Marine Corps to have a place on these ships and be part of that growing America force. It's something that was taught to me when I came in '83 from people that had been there as long as I had now, and the fight continues on and on and on. It just keeps repeating, and there's a perfect thread of that in the Barbary Wars, as we can talk about, is why. The immediate questions for me were, okay, we're going to put ships out there, we're going to put Marines on them, but what do Marines do? What's the
break glass in time of war?
Yeah,
right?
Well, it all came down to Navy captains and what they decided Marines, because you have to think once they're out there, that's their own little kingdom,
right.
Yeah.
So. Why were there only seven Marines on this expedition when there were 200 and something in the Mediterranean squadron? Why? Even when the ships came to Derna and bombarded the town, there were Marines aboard ship. They could have landed to join those 6 and 7, and do even more damage, because the original intent for the Marines to go to Tripoli was 100 Marines, not just 7.
Right.
But the admiral and the captains, their mission for the Marines were to do ceremonies, keep the order, don't let the sailors, mutiny and kill the officers.
So kind of a police force.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so they didn't want to take those guys off the ship. They want to keep them on the ship.
Okay.
But as we know, you can see the threads in Marine Corps history. Sometimes Marines go off the ships and they go do what they have to do.
Did New Providence play into that? Like when we're starting to look at, or how do we do a landing party? How do we establish a lodgment? All that stuff. Like, we kind of have.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
We know how to do this, and so that's the thread. The landings that were done before this, a part of it, but it continues to develop through World War II. And the Pacific battles, landing forces, and forming those things, it begins all the way back, and there's it's a push and pull for the Navy to what are we going to do with these Marines?
Yeah.
And so,
and was the Army also trying if you need soldiering, we could take these guys and
the Army really had I won't say little respect, but we don't want them to get too much of glory in this, because Marines tighten it, high morale, and do the job.
Yeah.
But sometimes there comes in a service rivalry because of that. And so sometimes Marines are put over here with the Army to go there. And sometimes they work together. It's not always that way.
Right.
But if you can see that thread through 200 years of Marine Corps history to continue to fight.
Yeah, that really is a reoccurring theme.
Well, the important to remember is, you think it would end after some of these actions by Marines, but remember after World War II, that long later, there was an effort to put away,
Mhm.
do away with the Marine.
Yeah,
Right.
for
Yeah.
sure.
And so the seeds of it are here. It's very interesting to see how it grows through.
Yeah, and then I mean, it wasn't really until what Goldwater Nichols that we have it like codified beyond the, sort of the congressional requirement to maintain 2 battalions of Marines.
Yeah, yeah.
Goldwater Nichols sort of really kept us as a service.
Hmm.
But there's still, even to this day, there's still a lot of this.
Sure.
Because it's not just about money; it's all about the money, right?
That's right. That's right.
Um, so, yeah, again, I guess backpedal a little bit to the geopolitical landscape. Pirates are obviously a huge problem, but the Barbary pirates in particular. And now,
Yeah.
was that because they had attacked? What was it, the Philadelphia, or was was that just sort of the straw that broke the camel's back?
Well, the little background even is really important here.
Yeah, please.
Because the Barbary states have a pretty good deal. Along North Africa, along the Mediterranean, they they enjoy taking out merchant ships, and and capturing the crew and selling the merchandise. So they're a pretty good deal. And so how does Europe deal with that? They've been around longer than we.
Yeah.
And so they pay tribute to these states. So it's almost, it's just almost like a scam. We'll take that ship.
It's like the
Yeah.
mafia,
Yeah,
right?
no, you just pay.
Protection money.
So
yeah.
the interesting thing to me is this new country says, no, we're not paying. What do you take we're going to come get you. And that shows you the Navy and Marine Corps extending out. And we're not like this way of work before. We're going to do this our way. And that's basically how the story of the Barbary pirate. So it's like a tale of two cities. You got two sultans, brothers, and it gets really complex with that. So it's a multi-layered
hmm
set. But basically, that's it. America. The big lesson is America's not putting up with this.
Nice.
We're
And this
different.
is Thomas Jefferson at the time,
Mhm.
right?
But it goes back through
Okay.
Washington. I mean, they were doing it all along. We had to build our Navy up to protect
Yeah.
ourselves out there.
Yeah, because the Revolutionary War, we were basically just converting the larger merchant ships and just putting guns on them, right?
Yeah. We started putting the frigates together and
Yeah.
going out. And, just like I said, we're not paying tribute.
That's
If
hilarious.
you take our ships, we're gonna come after you.
That's so good.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah. And only because it's almost like this naivete. Is that the right word? I don't know.
Naivete.
Yeah, naivete. How like we didn't know that we weren't supposed to do that, so we just did it. Like we were too young to really get it, and so like that sort of audacity through ignorance. It just sort of pays off.
I love
right?
it.
Yeah. So this tale of two sultans. One of the things that folks may not know is we had the landing party. It was about 100 Marines, but there was hundreds of these North African and Arab sort of mercenaries
Hmm.
that joined, and it wasn't a landing as we would like, oh, this amphibious assault that goes right into objectives inland. They had to march like 100 miles or something, right?
200 miles plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk about a sneak attack. Like I didn't see that coming.
Well, the concept was, they've taken our frigate Philadelphia,
hmm
and so we have all of these Americans now prisoners in the dungeons and being horribly treated by the Sultan, Yusuf over there, and so he wanted us to pay money and get them free, and so our solution was, no, we're not paying you money. We're going to come back and we're going to take you.
We're gonna kick your butt.
Yeah, we're going to kick your butt. And they were warned, but as it filtered down, the major leader of this idea to go and get them was Eaton. He was an army officer, and his idea was to gather a force and take it overland because the ships wouldn't land them. He's going to walk 200 miles through North African desert. He asked for 100 Marines and he gets 7. because the Navy captains and admirals,
Right.
Hey, wait a minute, we want to keep them on the ships, and there's a lot of contention about that. And then, 7 Marines aren't going to, walk across the desert and fight 2,000 Tripolitans. So he decides to go to Egypt, where the Sultan's brother, who he's kicked out of being Sultan out there in Tripoli, has established himself. And he said, I'm going to see if this guy's interested in going with us. And we're going to play the political game of, you can go back and take over against this guy and kick him out. So he signs him up. And so they starts gathering a bunch of, it's really interesting grab bag of people that are going to go do this thing. So the whole band of people,
misfit toys.
it's an amazing thing to just watch it take place. And the audacity, you're going to walk 200 miles across the desert, and then the ships are going to meet you then, see if you make it. They'll meet you then with supplies, and then we'll go from there. But they did it.
Yeah, and then you're gonna walk this through like just unbelievably austere and hazardous terrain, and then fight a fortified position.
But and half the time, well, they sign up Greek mercenaries. They sign up the sultans, the dethroned sultan's men, and they sign up other people that will go along with them. There was a Richard Farquhar. There's a British soldier of fortune. He signs up. And so they start trying to get money to pay these guys, because the promise is, we'll give you this now, but when we get to the port of Bamba, almost to Tripoli, that we'll pay the rest. So they said, okay, we'll sign up. So he's got Bedouin cavalry. He's got a couple tribes also in there to take advantage of this, because I seem to think that, and it doesn't come out, but it's pretty obvious. It doesn't come out in writing, is they think this will never happen.
Yeah,
They're going to go on here and take their money and and see if we can depart and dump them in the desert. So so they spend about a month there in Egypt, Alexandria, to put this thing together. But this is a flavor of what kind of officers and Marines, enlisted Marines, were that back then. They were rough and tumble.
Sure.
So they kept getting in trouble in Alexandria.
That's weird.
Fist
Imagine
fights,
that.
Yeah,
fist fights.
it's so strange.
Yeah, it doesn't check with
how
me at
how
all.
things
Yeah.
change over history.
Yeah, alcohol didn't help any.
Yes.
So they were getting in trouble. So Eaton said, we've got to get out of here. Because two of the Farquhar and a naval officer got in a fist fight over a pool game and gave each other busted faces, black eyes. But then they decided, we'll go out and keep drinking and go up and down the streets of.
No, they got to know you a little better.
Now we know who we are. I respect you, you respect me. But they're out there on the street, and then they get in trouble because they're trying to pull down veils and things like that.
Oh my gosh.
And so I think they finally, the Sultan there said, finally, we got to get them out of here. We got to move them, because this is not going to get any better. The more they stay around here, the more they know. So, okay, we're going to make this happen. So they go out, a large number of camels. It would be wonderful to see what that looked like, but a large number of camels carrying all the gear, horses.
And this is Presley O'Bannon. He's sort of the debt commander for the Marines.
Yeah. So Eaton is in charge.
Yeah.
Underneath him is O'Bannon. But the thing that holds all the mission together, the glue, are the Marines.
And you said there's just 7.
7.
And so when we look sort of as we understand history, the 100, they're the ones who came off the ship once this infiltration force started the attack. Then they sort of do almost like a pincer move. Is that how that?
Actually, only 7.
It's just the 7.
Just the 7.
And then this ragtag group of the dirty 400 or whatever.
But it's really, you think about this, how do you have the audacity to even think this was going to work?
Yeah.
Because if you try to even walk that way today, if you could, that's a tremendous move. It's the same ground that Rommel fought North Africa on.
Yeah.
How long did it take them to walk with their camels?
Yeah, it takes them about 2 months.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine?
They run into trouble just the first night out because they really hadn't thought about water breaks. And so, and I think again, that makes me think these Bedouins are going to take them out there, and we're out once
Yeah,
they get our
yeah.
gold, and then they can find their way out to Bamba. But they continue, and the discipline are the 7 Marines. They have the Christian artillerists and mercenaries, but they're the Marines hold the discipline and keep going day after day after day. And they said to the Bedouins, they said, okay, the gold's going to be out there. We have to keep going and get so. So the Bedouins start getting their doubts, and they get about 3 or 4 days out. And they throw a rebellion. They say, we're going to walk away from here unless we get some money, and and we're going to take our camels and all the stuff on it, and then you're going to be lost without any transportation.
Right.
So they negotiate. They negotiate with them. We'll keep going. But by the way, we're gonna keep all of the food this expedition has under a guard of Marines. So if you want to go ahead, you're not going to get any food from us. So it was hardball out there in the desert, but it worked.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah,
That's right. You got to do what you got to do. But think of the other side. This story's been told a lot of times.
Yeah.
But this part of it, and then some of the hardest things that were done was this with 7 Marines, because you have to you get there first.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing feat that they did.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, and like you were saying, like, have you spent time in the Middle East? There are areas that seem almost untouched by not only civilization but by history. Almost as if, it's not like I grew up in California where you could sort of look over the hills and you see this house and goes, oh man, I remember when that used to be. Like, you don't have to remember. You don't have to imagine. It still
looks like that.
Yeah.
Stuff is still there, man. The sand might be a little different, but the landscape is pretty much the same.
Yeah. And they also, in their diaries and letters, as they go across, they're finding pieces of old Rome, Carthage ruins.
Man,
all kinds of things like that in the old cities.
that's crazy. So what does the attack look like then? You get these guys. You said like there's obviously grumblings throughout, as you can only imagine, but then they get there. Is there a plan? Like, do they do rehearsals in wargaming, or is like, man, this has been 2 months. Let's just get them.
Basically, get them.
Okay.
Get them. But the end of this thing, the second half of it, there's a really interesting thing that happens when the Arabs do decide. The Bedouins say we're actually going to leave, and we're going to take our food too, all of it. So think about these few Americans, and the British, soldier of fortune, and a few others. If anything happens to them, no one's going to know.
Right.
No one. You'll be out there in the
literally
desert.
lost
That's
in the
it
desert.
for them.
Yeah.
Because when the ships come around, nobody's there. Well,
Oh well.
This didn't
where
happen.
are they?
Yeah.
So they said, no, we're gonna fight for it. And so there's like 250 cavalrymen lined up against the 7 Marines and a few Greeks and other people that stuck by the Americans. And that's not good odds.
No.
But they lined up and they charged. They actually charged. And they come up, and the Marines they're there. Okay,
don't
you want to come
flinch,
get
huh?
us? We're right here.
Yeah.
We're not moving
I'd rather
anywhere.
die here than let the desert take me. Yeah.
Okay. I'll take a few of you out before this is over. Attitude. They never flinched. So that the cavalry came up, and within 6 feet they stopped. It says, these Americans aren't backing up. So they stopped. The Sultan comes in. He says, okay, go back, because it really was I didn't think they really meant to run them over, but they would have if they'd started running.
Right. Sure.
So, and think
Game
of
of
yourself.
chicken, huh?
Yeah, well, think of yourself out in there. If you started, hey, there's a target.
Yeah.
So, we'll have to actually fight, and some of us are going to get killed. It's so. The point is that they negotiated it. Okay, you can have some of our rice, but we're going to keep the food as we go. And so they actually get to the next level, which they run out of food. They're digging up roots to eat.
Jeez.
They're getting close to the rendezvous point with the Navy, and but they find some water sources, so that's better because they're getting closer to the ocean. And so, but that they're starving. They go without food for 2 or 3 days, and then they finally get to the point, and they go and look over the hill, and there's the bay where the Navy's supposed to be, and the Navy's not there. Because you have to
Typical.
think, how do you coordinate? And it's still the same thing. How do you coordinate
Yeah.
after a couple of months?
You don't have SATCom.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
satellite radios, no telegrams, no.
So now the add-ons to the Marines are like, where you promised, and now they're not here. And so they say, wait a couple of days. We'll see what happens. A couple of days, nothing. And so they said, everybody says, we're booking out. We're going to leave you here because we're not, they're not coming. And so just the night before, Eaton sends up a messenger, and they light a fire on top of the high ground. And the ship at sea sees it, one of the Navy ships, and comes in the bay that morning. So the morning they were leaving, here comes the ship, and then it's all, hey, friends again.
Yeah. My
My
brother. Yeah.
I was just kidding about all that other stuff.
Just joshing around.
We're back
with you.
in now.
Sight?
Just testing you. You passed.
So then they go for the attack. Now they're feeling good, and now they have ships that will support the battle because they're going up against a walled city in Derna.
Yeah, I can't imagine they were like towing their artillery with them, right? It's all coming from the sea.
Yeah, well, the sea never landed any guns. The ships,
but they bombarded from the ship, though, right?
Yeah, it was really cool because what they did was they came in. I mean, there's some bold captains that came into shore, dropped anchor, and then there was the city watching these 3 ships run out the guns. And so that really was one of the keys to the assault victory was the naval bombardment, because they had guns, but they were more facing not the sea, but towards the Marines and the whole conglomeration. So when they started firing on the city, knocking out the guns, that really shook them. They were firing back at the ships, but they never hit them. But, they were firing bullets that were doing better than their guns. No one wanted to stand up there on the thing and take that shot. So that opened up the charge by the Marines who led it first. And they go across the field just running, because they're running against this walled city, but the gunners are up there down because the Navy shells are coming in, busting over them. And so, and then they engage in hand-to-hand combat over the walls. And that has to be, if you start running, if you're the Marines, you got O'Bannon out in front, and you got everybody behind him, and you look around, it was only just, this is all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they'd been starving.
Yeah.
They're,
thirsty,
dehydrated.
tired,
Yeah.
cranky.
Sand in their drawers.
Yeah. But finally, the moment's here. Boom. And then they go in and take it. And they take the casualties, of the 6 enlisted men. Two of them dead, some of them wounded. So, but it was the Marines that broke them, because it was just audacity. You know how it is.
Yeah.
But finally, I've had enough. I've come all the way here. We're not going to act.
Yeah.
We're going back. We're going to take this thing because we, can't be any harder than going back that way.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they took it right frontal assault.
Yeah, that's insane.
So the others didn't have any choice. The Americans are going, so we're going to go with them.
Yeah.
And they didn't come in behind. And so that doesn't end the battle, because there's 2,000 troops coming out of Tripoli, go take care of these. They don't get to Derna in time. So there's another battle, and it's like, this thing ever end with these guys? And so they go out and they take them on to drive them back. And at that point, there's no further options for the Sultan. The bad Sultan.
Yeah,
Good Sultan
right.
It's still riding high. Hey, these Americans
Yeah,
are pretty good.
This is actually working out.
Yeah, like Marines, And actually, it's an interesting point is that some of the ladies, the women that were going along with them, ended up with Marine buttons as decorations.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So they like Marines. That whole group now. We believe in you now. It's all good. It's all good. So this is where it kind of goes off center, because everybody's now done their thing. The Navy, the Marines, the Bedouins, the Greeks. And so the next, what Eaton wants to do, and O'Bannon, we're going to keep going. We're going to go to Tripoli. We're going to free our prisoners. We're going to, we can do anything. That's like, they must feel like Superman.
Yeah,
we
it's
did all this.
I got
unstoppable.
food in my belly.
I'm not stopping now.
Got
I'm gonna
blood on my sword.
yeah. They're running. We're going to chase them. So, but then it's very interesting, and this doesn't come out in most accounts of this, but the State Department gets involved.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and I won't name his name, but he basically said, "Oh, well, they won. I better start getting into this." And so he makes offers to the bad sultan, and he says, "Wait, what are we going to do? We'll make peace." And they actually signed a peace, and was approved by the admiral that we'll just withdraw, and you'll give up all of our people, and we'll pay you like $60,000 or something like that. All while these guys have come all the way across the desert, and they're already ready to go to Tripoli, and it's pulled out.
Well, the whole point was we weren't going to pay.
Yeah. And so it ended quickly. So, and the good sultan that came with them, what does he do? He put his life on the line.
Yeah.
So
Thanks, State Department.
Yeah. So they get an agreement. He gets his family that's in prisons as well in Tripoli back. He has to go all the way back to Egypt, and that's where he made his home after that. So the Marines were pulled off and put back into the fleet, and so they were pretty mad about the whole thing because he said we won, we're winning, and all of a sudden here's a peace signed right behind us. So the bad sultan got to keep, but he did turn off all the Americans, and notice was given to everybody that wanted to try and take our ships. We're going to come for you. Yeah.
No, that definitely puts everybody on notice. To the point where there's a second Barbary War, right? Like 15 years later or something.
Yeah. Let's try it again. Huh?
Yeah. Go figure. The payment stuff didn't really pan out the way we thought it was going to.
Yeah. Now for the British and French and others, they'd rather pay that money than put the expense of putting out an expedition, going out and actually engaging with them. So they just, hey, we'll pay. No big deal. But that's the important thing out of all of this is America doesn't pay.
Yeah.
We're actually gonna do this, except for the money that was paid to
England.
But we're not gonna pay for this.
Yeah.
Any more capturing of our ships. We're gonna come back after you.
Oh, it's really fascinating. Thank you for unpacking that for us. What do you think then are some of the implications that our listeners and today's Marines, because we're in a very similar sort of situation where we've talked about it in previous episodes, but a lot of the resident combat experience is retiring or they're very senior. And so the vast majority of our current force is pretty green. But yet the international landscape is of, constant turmoil, and in a very similar way, Marines are on ships and we respond to crises, and pretty much every hotspot you see, there's a Marine within the vicinity or about to go. And we're coming out of this long war, and there's a very almost with all of these concepts for stands and forces, the expeditionary advanced base operations, and force design, this mentality again of as you talk about it, 7 Marines with a mishmash of sympathetic allied, either host nation or miscellaneous forces, seems like something we are going to have to be tapping into again. So what do you think some of the implications in understanding the Barbary Wars in that time period? Like, what are some of the things that our current force and future force need to understand about that time period?
That's a very interesting question because it deals basically with what do you learn from these things, and in all my interviews with these Marines from World War One, through Vietnam and the global war, I'd ask them when things got tough, particularly like the Chosin Reservoir or Tarawa, or
Hmm.
you know, when things got tough, what got you through? And you know what? Almost universally, the answer was,
What?
Each other.
I'm not going to let them down. The guys before me. I'm not going to let them down, and I'm not going to let down the guy next to me because of that. And it caused some crazy things to happen. Just like, but what's crazier than 7 Marines going out?
Right.
I mean, take a
That's
unit
nuts,
on that
yeah.
same march and see it. It's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough.
Well, especially when you've got, constant, essentially mutinies within your own band.
Yeah. So that's one of the major themes through all of Marine Corps history. When you look at, and so that's a wide swath of veterans, but always I'm not letting them down.
Yeah.
I'm not letting them down. And that makes the Marine Corps, what it is
Yeah.
that the greatest fighting force, because they've got that unity that spans years.
Yeah.
And Marines love their history.
And that's what makes history important for young Marines, today's young Marines, to study, to learn about those who came before them.
Yeah, 100%. As we're looking at these, what we've been dubbing the buckets of Marine Corps history, every generation, it seems, there is a major, if not like full on, full scale war, there's a major engagement. And so, I mean, if you sort of look at, reading the chicken bones, all of these things that are going on, we haven't been at war now for, what, 7 years or so of real, actual forces in contact. Um, we're kind of, I mean, it's coming up. Like, if just history maybe doesn't repeat but rhymes, you're looking at something every 10 to 15 years. So, you know, keep your sword sharp, right?
Yes.
Keep your skills up, and
Yeah.
like you said, rely on that Marine to the left and right of you.
That's right. And the ones that have come before. I mean, the halls of Montezuma, the shores of Tripoli, those are not just words.
Yeah.
They actually mean something.
Right.
The Mameluke swords and all of that. That's Marines value the history, and it's an amazing weapon.
Yeah. It's not just mythology. Like it gives us insights into what may be coming on the pike, right?
Well, exactly. In the future, you rely on the past. Well, how did they do it?
Mm-hmm.
What did they do? What are the lessons learned?
Mm-hmm.
When I take the Marines out on the battlefield, it's very interesting, the questions that they ask. It's different than some of the other services.
Really?
But yeah. It's more of a personal thing and choices that were made and all of that. And there's some extent across the board, but Marines are just locked in on that. It's like, and particularly ones with combat experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is familiar.
Yeah. Well, thank you for shedding a light on this period for us.
Yeah.
You've got the book coming. What is the title? Do you have a title
No
yet?
title yet.
No title yet.
Yeah.
But it's in the works.
It's actually almost written.
Awesome.
Yeah, it goes back to just after the Revolutionary War, but it's how the Marine Corps was formed. It talks about, what Marines did on these stations and the relationships with Americans, civilians in Navy, Army, and how it all fits together up to the Barbary Wars and then beyond.
Awesome.
Can't wait to read it.
Yeah.
You'll have to come back in here, not only talk about Soissons, but talk about your book when it's appropriate.
I've got other books of Marine Corps history that's already done. It's just manuscripts.
Okay.
Just to be finished. But I've got the Nicaragua. I have found the earliest Marine landing exercise. And we have a lot of more things to learn, particularly the turn of the century, when we're starting to gear up for expeditionary warfare, and how that happened. It's a fascinating story.
Awesome. Well, thank you for spending some time with us today to talk Marine Corps history. And yeah, we'll definitely see you again to talk World War One.
Yeah.
Sure.
And for all of our listeners, again, please check out our YouTube channel. We've got the We just released the 20-year reflection of the the battles of Fallujah, Fallujah 1 and 2. It's absolutely outstanding. And I can say that because I didn't have that much to do with it. So of course it's going to be good, but and we're also releasing bonus content. Every Friday we'll be putting out the interviews that we did for that video in their entirety. We'll be putting that out for you guys, so you can get, as we're talking about, really diving into the thoughts, the feelings, and the experiences of those who have come before us, so that we can walk in their gigantic footsteps. So, Dr. Miller, thank you again so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
The Marine Corps wants Marines at all levels to be able to make sound and timely decisions. And Marines can hone their decision making capabilities by being put into situations that require them to think critically. One way that the Marine Corps Association supports this is by providing decision forcing cases. A decision forcing case is a decision making exercise that places participants in the roles of historical protagonists who, at some time in the past, faced a particularly challenging problem. In that role, participants are asked to devise, deliver, defend, refine, and critique solutions to the scenario as the scenario moves forward in time, creating new problems and opportunities. DFCs allow Marines to develop vicarious experience, develop decision-making skills under pressure, and foster critical thinking and creative problem solving. This is one of the many ways MCA supports Marines through an adult learning methodology. Learn more about our programs and support to Marines at mca-marines.org/professional-development. That's mca-marines.org/professional-development. Scuttlebutt is a production of the Marine Corps Association. You have heard the voices or contributions from Major Vic Rubel, USMC retired, Nancy Lichman, William Truding, and our guest. Ty Frazier is the editor, sound engineer, and technical producer. The Marine Corps Association is not an agency of the U.S. government. The opinions expressed in this episode are the personal views of the participants and do not reflect the official position of the United States Marine Corps, the Department of Defense, or the Marine Corps Association.